Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for being part of this first time presentation that I'm having with you. I can't wait to show you what we got in store. So let me just get to it. Presenting screen. All right. Making Discord work for you. Tips and tricks to make your Discord reading accessible. Now, did anybody notice something wrong on the first page? If we didn't, it's a perfect example of our first skimming lesson today. There's a typo here. So this is the first page and there's a typo on here. And so the whole point is just to be like, there was a typo. Bet you didn't see it. And this is our first introduction to what I'm going to talk about tonight. So in the overview of what we're going to speak on is first I'm going to introduce a little bit about myself, and then we're going to quickly glaze over what if I want to make a Discord word for you? You can do that too. I've got some apps for you. Don't you worry, babe. I got you. So we're going to glaze over why Discord. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that. That one will be participant. Then we're going to talk about info at a glance, which is how we all process information. Different ways to engage the reader in Discords, apps to help process info, and then we'll have a big chunk of time for Q&A at the end. So welcome in for those of you who are just joining us. I was just getting ready to ask everyone to hold their big questions until the end of the presentation tonight, because I'd like to take notes on what you have to say. So it'd be easier if we do it all at the same time. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is Sam. I go by Slurble on most platforms. My pronouns are she, they, any. I am certified teacher's knowledge test and English second language educator from the University of Cambridge, and I hold a BA in speech and language pathology from Columbia College. And these are just fancy ways of saying that I've been working and studying language and communication disorders since 2009. I also have been streaming for a little over a year now since changing careers from teaching. So I'm one of the mods of the multi-streamer Discord community called The Front Porch. I am not sponsored by, nor ever have been employed by Discord. Although, if you know a gal, let me know, okay? I'm always open to opportunities. So let's get into it. I'm so grateful for all of you coming out tonight. I just want to do a couple of real grounding things. So let's set the intentions of this presentation. My intention is to bring awareness to simple things in our lives that we can incorporate to make reading and language more accessible to everyone. And I believe that our shared intention in this tavern and in these spaces is to cultivate a sense of presence, attentiveness, and compassion during our time together in this space. So those are the main big intentions I feel we can hold together. But during the presentation, I want you to pay attention to any feelings and sensations you experience, whether positive or negative, and just observe them without judgment. And as for right now, before we get into it, I need everyone to close your eyes and think the last time you felt successful, confident, in charge. And I'm going to do this one with you. I'm going to take a deep breath in and out. All right, we're holding the space of accomplishment. We're holding that feeling, that glowingness that we have. Now we're going to ask ourselves, how can I take this feeling with me in this space? We're in a really competitive field occasionally. Sometimes insecurities can get in the way. This is not a presentation to be critical on how you decide what works for you. You still define your own success. You are successful in what you've created, and I don't want you to forget that during this presentation. Okay? So here we go. So we're going to glaze over this one. I have been doing practice of these presentations with different people, different audiences. So Occasionally, some people don't know what Discord is or don't know what it's used for at all. They think it's just like a gamer thing. So I tell them it's a popular platform for online communication. You can use voice, video, or text. Most of them are private, invite-only spaces. Personally, the Front Porch is currently a community Discord server, and we have aspirations to eventually become public and open. So a lot of us use and depend on Discord for quote-unquote after hours, right? It's where we hang out with the community. It's where we offer movie nights and watch parties. But why do we use these things over Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, etc.? I know personally, one of my favorite things about Discord is the ability to connect anywhere at any time. Now, I know sometimes that can be a little wishy-washy with server connections and Wi-Fi, but in theory, it's there. So we love Discord, right? I love Discord. I'll speak for myself. Integration of voice, text, movie, video sharing. Yes, be super personal, right? You can all do reaction parties together without it being like this big scene. Love that, peanut butter. Let you have flexibility to share information you're comfortable with compared to other platforms. Yes, Bella. Privacy is important. I work in corporate collab. The paywall for almost all the other things is a big barrier. Yes, I've heard that Slack is really expensive. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, y'all. Those are all great reasons. So let's get into what I'm really excited to talk about, which is how do we process information? So you need to think of reading accessibility for anyone, like the lighting in an art gallery. If people can't see what's there, they can't engage with it. So you've created this beautiful space, but accessibility is what makes it usable, inviting, and easy to navigate. So there are two main skills that we use to do this. One's in chat if you've already heard about these things or learned about them at all. Skimming and scanning are how we survive online. Most people aren't reading your server like a novel. They're skimming for keywords and they're scanning for what's relevant to them. This is even more true for neurodivergent folks, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, ESL readers, busy professionals, and anxious lurkers. I'm the one in the last one there. We want in, but we not if it's overwhelming. Very peripheral processing. Yes. Yeah. I took a minute to process that one. Yeah. So this is a lot of what I did in my 15 plus year career as an ESL teacher. I guess I forgot to mention that I taught for 15 years ESL, all ages. I've taught in Mitaka, Japan, and Wuhan, China, and various other states here in the United States where I live now. So I've seen all of these when trying to teach reading English. So especially with coping with the effects of information explosion that's joining a new server, because we've all been there, it's important to make sure that your server information is easy to skim and scan for your users. If your content is easy to skim, it becomes easy to trust, join, and engage with. So skimming is looking for a general meaning quickly, like we did with our first page on the front when we read our title. And scanning is looking for specific info, like what we did when we went back to that first page to see the error. Both are survival skills in a fast-paced digital space, and your server needs to respect that human bandwidth is limited. Even in neurotypical brains, we do live in a world where people are exhausted, so the less mental load you can take off of them, the more engaged they're going to be. So what are some differences here? Because we're getting ready to do an activity. Skimming is the act of glancing quickly over a large text to get an overall idea. This is like going through options when you search for something on a browser for Google or something. What helps this skill? When you use subheadings, subtitles, and when you have strong first few lines of text, they're clear, you get to the point. It summarizes what you're about to read. And scanning is the deeper version of skimming. So that's the act of searching for specific information in a text format. It's checking the time on an event. What helps this? Numbers, letters, lists, keywords, and phrases. Clear information from the skim. So you can't scan without skimming. And I know that sounds silly, but it is what it is. Like, that's how we learn language. That's how our brain processes language. They go hand in hand. All right, so now we're going to try a little activity. So if you can see the screen and you can hear my voice, give it a shot. So I'm going to show you a body of text twice. The first time, I'm not going to give you any context. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you 2 questions. We'll look at it again, and the second time, we'll revisit the first questions. All right, here we go. 10 seconds. Okay. Right? 10 seconds. I know 10 seconds is extreme, but think about when you join a server and how long you take to scroll through to see what the contents are, right? It's similar. It's very similar. So that's why we're doing it this short. Okay. First question. Where was Mary from? Hell yes. Hell yes. Good job. Can I do this? I can. I did the air horn for myself. Very good. Okay. Second question. What heritage was her father? Marcy, look at you. All of you are so smart. Gold stars for everyone all around. Mwah, 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 mwah. Violacious. I got it. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to go back. Okay. So I'm going to give you another 10 seconds for those of you who might not know. Let's do it again. Another 10 seconds on the clock. Take in everything you need. All right. So I'm sure in the second round, most of you got a lot more information. And I feel like most of you can answer, where was Mary from and where was her dad from? Did any of you get around to the point of seeing her wealth status? Hell yeah. Oh, y'all are some of the best students I've ever had. Oh no, Jess. And that's okay. This is a great example, okay? So for those of you that did get some of them or were reading and didn't get them, either way, what were some of the first things you noticed in the text? I was focused on the hotel. It's an interesting story, right? Right? We all process information differently. But what's true of all of us is that we need minimal brain capacity in a fast-paced world. Yep, things were bolded. Didn't like that. The headings, the bolded text. The bolded distract me from the text. It's true. Okay. Some find it distracting. So what was easy? What was difficult? Thank you for answering these questions, keeping me on task. Excellent. All right. So can your members use some of these strategies in your Discord server currently with ease? Here. So you guys are all bringing up exactly the things that work well. Yeah. So let's say you have a Discord server set up like this. What do you like about this? What do you think's unclear? If you were to pop in for 10 seconds in this server, how does this make you feel? And Marzi, the thing is, there's no like end point for a server to be, right? I think that success should be defined by you. And I think your server, as being a personal community member, is very much thriving. Click away, mute forever. Exactly. Average server, yes. It feels unfinished, right? I'll take all the criticism because the next couple of slides you'll see I built these servers. Right? There's a million more ideas. Discord is incredibly powerful and you can do so much. Yep, the channels feel scrambled. Yep. This is my personal server for our community apartment building. And we don't use it very much, so we haven't done very much, but we use it sporadically. So this currently works for us, and there are no qualms with making it any different. We don't really have any roles. We talked about having roles between different addresses on the buildings in this apartment complex that we have. Never got around to it. Do we grill out every weekend in the summer? Yes. Do we organize and share memes in this? Yes. Is it an engaging server to us? Yes. So keep that in mind. Remember, we are celebrating what we are building and what we are accomplishing. We are not here to critique or tear down what you have. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next example. There's only 2 examples we have here. So what do you think about this? What do you like about it? What's unclear? How does this one make you feel? If your community is one that needs more visual organization or you feel like would benefit from that, something like the second one would work. And just like Stella Jo was saying before, for something like more casual or just works and doesn't need to be a whole lot but still intimate, you don't need to add much. Okay. I like the emotes too a lot. Like, I feel like this is a planner version for me. I put in my colorful tabs. I can quickly move to the next month or whatever. Okay, let's keep going. All right. So, how do you like to interact online? So when people can skim and understand and interact with content easier, they stick around, right? That happens when you have smaller communities, less interaction because everything is coming in slowly. That can also come in with a more, like that someone was saying, organized streamer Discord. So accessibility creates flow and flow creates community momentum. So people just don't read, they respond, right? I put in this second point here because I like to make the point of like, if you want to engage people more, and let's say you have a channel for just pictures, and then people are posting a lot of cat pictures, but nothing else. So someone's like, hey, should we make a cat pictures channel? Well, if your pictures channel is the one that's being engaged in, then why take away the engagement from there in a new space with more complications? Does that make sense? So we're always going with the flow of what our community needs and what we think would best benefit them. Unless your server is for you, then you do whatever you want. All right, so then we get into a bit of roles. I won't touch on roles very much because, again, those are intimate, those are private, you need moderation, you need a hierarchy. Everyone does that differently. But they have to organize with intentionality to avoid stagnation or misuse, right? And you want to constantly be thinking about ways, how are you going to archive your information? Are you going to reuse this? Is it just going to create clutter? So things like that. So when you're first brand new creating a server, this is like the process a lot of us probably went through, and I'm just going to reiterate it to explain the different ways you can go through thinking about reading accessibility. So when you create it, you want to keep it simple, right? Think of broad themes with many options for clear single word names. Use emojis to break up sections visually. This helps reduce cognitive load. People immediately know where to go and what to expect, and that creates trust. Same thing with the roles. Roles are important for collective interest and notifications within the server. All right. Now we're just going to go through the different containers you have for Discord and the hierarchy of those. And I want you to think of what different ways that you might use these. And I will give some examples of how I use these specifically. So we have web stage versus voice chat. Web stage is good for hosting events with 1 or 2 audios only. We have them here. So this presentation would be good for a web stage, but y'all are excellent audience members, so I don't need to. And then voice chat's good for casual hangs. This is example, hanging with the girls for 6 hours a day in voice chat. Raise your hand. I do it. These are kind of a duh, right? One lets you have one person in charge. The other one lets have multiple people in charge. Text channels versus forums. All right. A lot of people are coming around to this organization idea for reading accessibility. So text channels are good for casual discussions and sharing. They're primarily used for organizing an entire server. We've seen this, right? You need something new, make a text channel. You can host threads, you can host pins, and it's the first impression usually that you make on your new members. So if you have a channel that's especially busy too, it's important that you make a short delay so people aren't bombarded. And then forums are for events. You're going to want to use these for things you're going to want to recur in a large format, right? So like these are annual events, large documents, resource sharing. These can also be closed and archived in a way that doesn't add clutter to your main pages. So it's really important that you think about these ways when you organize your server, or thinking about like, how can you incorporate some of this or model this for your community if you would like to incorporate it. So it reduces overwhelm, especially for people with attention or processing disorders. Threads and pinned messages. I'm about to blow your mind. Maybe. I don't know. My mind was blown this week when I learned this. So instead of using massive message dumps, create threads for specific questions or topics. So like this week in the front porch, I've been trying to incorporate more thread usage, just to kind of like live what I preach kind of thing. And it's been going so-so. Some of my members really hate threads, but we've started using them for hot topics. One person asks a question or has a really bad day, and then we create a thread of comfort for them that they can look back on. So that's been going really well. Why that sort of helps, it helps organize your chaos, right? Like if you have a bunch of people that really love squash and they're going on about summer squash and the different ways to cook squash, and you're in the cooking channel, but you don't give a shit about squash. Like having a thread there will get rid of notifications for people who just are uninterested, and it won't create an overwhelm, and it won't discourage them from engaging. So pins are short descriptions or a welcome message that you can put at the top of each channels. You can include how-tos, rules, content warnings as needed. Pins are really good. Not everyone knows about pins, so I always advise people to maybe incorporate looking at a pin in your onboarding if that's something you're interested in doing, and that way it at least navigates new members to the different areas of Discord. This helps anchor new users, right? Like I'm trying to find the room code for the game night tomorrow night. You pin it and then it's at the top, right? So this really helps people with executive functioning challenge or anxiety around new spaces because they can get all the important information at the top. It creates a container for people to look at it in their own time versus getting 30 messages on the conversation in one hit. So again, like you don't have to use threads. These are just ways to advocate for using threads in a way that reduces reading, essentially, the cognitive load of reading. Oh, and the thing I was going to say that I learned is that threads can also have their own pinned messages. Just learned that this week or like last week. Mind blown, right? Right. So, like within a thread about squash, you can pin recipes for squash. It's wild. I learned it thankfully from the Twitch Creator Club. They did the Creator Raid Train, which they have since switched to forums, which was a good idea in my opinion. But yeah, that's where I learned threads can have their own pins, and I was like, wow, it just keeps going, which makes sense because when we organize folders and when we organize files, we start with the big umbrella and go down, right? That's essentially what we're doing with our Discord servers as well. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. This next page is just some bots that I use, some bots that I've heard of. They're all third party, they're all free. Some of them have paid options. Some of them, yeah, let me just show you. So StreamCord Carlbot, love them. I'm sure a lot of us know about them. MusicBot is a good one. We use Jockey Music. That one is like you can invite that bot to your voice channel and play a playlist from anything. MovieBot, we use it for polls, recommendations for movies, and yeah, like those two. That's it. I also use ReadyBot, which is a news feed bot. So in the front porch, I have a music news channel and a video game news channel. And so ReadyBot pulls news feeds for me from different media sources. So all I can think of is the music ones right now is like Your EDM and Ear Milk and a couple other, like NPR is on that notification for me. The video game news comes from Ladies Gamers News, different indie developers that put their announcements in their own servers. You can follow them there. ReadyBot helps with those things. The Discord auto publisher is something that automatically publishes messages or news in your announcement channels or other people's servers. So this is great when you have a big network of servers of friends. You can create trust among your community of other servers by being consistent and uniform in the way you publish your go lives between the servers. We found that one immensely helpful. Free Stuff Bot is really good. Carlbot also has a free bot. We dump those into a text channel and they just show you daily opportunities for your community to seize free games. That one's fun. Sesh is really popular. We use that for silly things now, really. We use MovieBot a lot more. Mix It Up, I'm sure a lot of you know about Mix It Up. And T-Study is just another one I wanted to point out for it's free. Super Sweet Bot is really popular. It has a paid version for integration with Discord. So if you have that, look into that. But for those of you who don't have either, T-Study is one that I've incorporated before that you can keep like little to-do lists for you or a team. All right, so these are some things that you can ponder on for your own that I wanted to leave you with. So you're not just making it easier for people to read your server, you're making it easier for them to belong there. And that's the power that we as streamers bring to building a community. So skimming and scanning aren't really signs of laziness. You know, they say the 30-second attention span or whatever. They're just signs of people trying to engage in a very noisy world. So we need to meet them where they are, and then they'll stay for the depth. So some of the things I started looking at when I started researching into this is, you know, I audited my current channels. Is everything clear, spaced out, skimmable? What's your first impression when I look at the list of my channels? Do you have markdown in your key messages? Does your welcome messages have bolded things for emphasis? Do you have welcome posts in most of your channels? Do you have an explanation of what the channel does? Also, I challenge you to start one thread today for a focused discussion. Just try it. Just try it. You might like it, you know? And the last one here is really the important part. Like if you have a very active server already, or if you've got like a good team of mods, people that are there to help you with you. Just ask them what would make them feel less overwhelmed by your content, and then actually see how you can implement it, right? Because that's the beauty of building a server with more than one person, is that you get to do it together, and it becomes something that you all build instead of what, just the I, just the me. So here's some of the works cited that I used when I started looking this up. I personally have the background professionally to explain all of this, but I found these 5 sources particularly interesting and pulled some of the findings from them in my presentation today. It's surprising how much research goes into the socialization in Discord. The activity that we had today was from the BBC. The NIH Public Access talks about strategies for adult literacy. Yeah. So again, these are all linked and they'll be available afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. I appreciate you for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again. That was
Also, the stress of the 10 seconds. Can I just